Yes, all my warriors come out to play.
Warriors, come out to. Ooh,
And all my macho
yeah.
men, give me a ooh yeah. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Mental Warrior podcast, where our goal here is to create an army of millions of mental warriors. We're trying to make everyone mentally tougher to become the best version of themselves. Because when you can win the war in your mind, you can win the battle of your life. So that's what we do around here. We're all about self improvement and getting mentally tougher. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how your thoughts dictate your life. And I feel like a lot of people talk about that and they say this, but no one actually explains how your thoughts dictate your life. So that's what I want to talk about today is how your thoughts actually do dictate your life. Because it's really interesting stuff. They say like great leadership and everything starts at the top, right? And everything kind of trickles down. Or your brain and your thoughts are your leader. See, it's funny how it's at the top here because whatever you think starts here. And then this comes down to your heart, to your soul, and it goes throughout your body. So the saying that great leadership and everything starts at the top and trickles down is true. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how your thoughts affect your mind, your body, your soul, and your feelings and ultimately dictate your life. Now, before I jump into it, I just want to thank everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on a podcast stream, we're also on all social media platforms. Just search for the Mental Warrior Life. We post a lot of influential and inspirational clips from other famous mental warriors. So it's not just my stuff, it's other stuff out there. That's my active service. Try to help the world is put out this inspiring messaging. So make sure you check us out on social media. Tell a friend, tell a foe, spread the word. So, how do your thoughts actually dictate your life? It's really interesting stuff. And I think that I know that once I've learned how these things worked, it's helped me with my life. So, I'm hoping it'll help you. And you hear all the most successful people say this. So, there's certainly something to it. So, the goal of today is to explain how it works, help you break out of that cycle, and then tips for moving forward on how to now control your life in a new way now that you understand how your thoughts dictate everything. Um, so the first part is it's very such interesting stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I've really enjoyed learning this. So whenever you think something, whether good or bad, your brain communicates that into a thought, into your mind, right? So a reaction happens where you think something and a thought is created, whether good or bad. That thought ultimately, so your brain creates a thought, then the thought secretes like a liquid. Like we literally have liquids in our brain. So it secretes a liquid. Your brain has a thought. The thought sends out a response and action to your body, and then it goes throughout your body. So if you're feeling anxious or sad or depressed or whatever, that's how you get these physical feelings where you might your heart beating, you're sweating, you get really tense, tight. That's what's happening is your brain is signaling these thoughts and these thoughts are triggering your body and it's creating a reaction and a response that goes throughout your body. So that's why you get tense. So your thoughts create a liquid that ultimately affect you physically. And it's so crazy because it works both ways. Your brain is like a computer. Your brain is a computer. It's ones and zeros. It doesn't really know what's going on. It just knows what you put into it. So it's kind of like if you turn a computer on or off, you're typing something, it's just processing whatever is going on. So if you have a positive thought, you get pumped up, you feel your adrenaline going, you feel really good, you want to do some push-ups, go to the gym, jump up and down, you're super excited, you're happy. That's how it works. So it works both ways. So whether you have a good thought or a bad thought, Your body doesn't really know either way what's going on. It's just taking orders. It's the soldiers following the orders from the general. And like I said, it goes from a brain to a thought to a response to an emotion. And the emotion is where we get caught up and where it trips us up, right? Because you'll have a bad thought and then you'll have bad emotions, right? Then you're in the emotions and you don't want to feel bad. You know, we try to escape pain as much as possible. We run towards pleasure and run away from pain. So how do we deal with the pain and the negative thoughts and feelings? We seek out our vices, right? We seek out whether it's alcohol, drugs, some people it's sex, a lot of people it's food, nicotine, tobacco, whatever it is. Some of us do a better job of having positive vices. So you might feel a type of way and you want to go to the gym. You might go for a run. You might write in your journal. That is way harder to do. It's way easier to just give into your vice. It's way easier to take a pill, smoke some weed, drink some alcohol, whatever it is, right? We'll do whatever we can to escape the pain. That's just natural human inclination. You know, we're built to survive. So we'll do anything to get out of this feeling. So it's so interesting how your thought, your brain has a thought, the thought secretes a liquid, the liquid creates the emotion within our body. But the emotions, they're not really real. You know, they fade away. So now that you know how this works, you know that the feeling, whether good or bad, is temporary. It's not going to last forever. So you might feel sad right now and you want to use a substance right away, but instead you could just tough it out because now you know that the emotion is temporary and it will go away. Because what happens is we get into a endless cycle where, you know, we have a negative emotion, we want to do something to get rid of it, so we turn to bad habits and vices. That's all what this really is. It's just a bad habit. You're not a bad person. It's not really a willpower thing. It's not like that, like, oh, why can't I just stop? It's a reaction to a stimulus that comes from our brain, that comes from our thoughts. So everything's intertwined. And what happens is we're in this cycle where we feel bad, so we overeat and we're trying to lose weight. And, you know, you always want to take the pain up front. So by giving into these vices and this short-term dopamine hit, this short-term gratification, you ultimately end up paying for it more in the long run because you're stuck in this cycle. And we all know what the cycle is. You feel bad, you know, you give into your vice, the vice wears off, and then you're back to where you were and you're even deeper in that hole than you were before. Then the next step comes in is shame, regret, pissed off, all that stuff that comes with when we mess up, which can make things worse, which can make you downward spiral even more. And then, you know, it takes so much effort and momentum and work to get back on track. So you give into the vice wears off, then you feel bad that you gave into your vice. You're like, damn, why did I do that again? I said I wasn't going to do it. I did it again. And then maybe couple days later, you know, you're done beating yourself up. You're like, all right, I did it. It happened. Let me get back on track. Then it takes a little bit of time to get back on track. You might stumble a little bit. And then eventually you get back on track. And then a week to 10 days later, the same thing happens. And it's such an endless cycle and it's super frustrating. And it all stems from our thoughts. Like, how crazy is that? That it all stems from our thoughts. You know, we do it to ourselves. You can't blame anyone else. So now that we know this, you know that your thoughts and emotions are temporary, and that if you feel bad or if you have these bad thoughts, they will pass. You know, a thunderstorm doesn't last forever. Eventually the sun's going to come back out, and that's a great metaphor for this is when you have you have a negative thought, your brain signals the negative thought, it secretes the negative energy, and then you have the negative emotion. But now you know that that will go away. It's guaranteed to go away. It might take a while, but now that you understand how things work, you can cut that off faster. Now you know that you're not going to turn to your vice to get you out of this negative emotion because this negative emotion is going to go away. So it's almost like when you have this negative emotion, you could just cut it off and say, okay, you can't really fight it. It's going to happen. We're going to have bad days. You're going to have negative emotions. You can't fight it. That gets exhausting. You're not going to win. What you can do is acknowledge it and accept it and let it pass. You could try to distract yourself by going to the gym or journaling, watching your favorite TV show, whatever it is. But you just got to acknowledge it, let the rain and the thunderstorm happen, and then wait for the sun to come out. Now you can do things to try to make the sun come out faster, but you have to let, like, when you eat food, you let your body digest it. You have to digest the negative emotion and let it pass and let it happen. You can't fight it. And by giving into your vices, you're fighting it and you're not going to win. Maybe you'll win here and there, but it's super exhausting. You just have to acknowledge it and accept it. So now when you have these negative thoughts, you're not going to turn to a vice. You're essentially breaking this habit, this cycle that you're in, by understanding how your thoughts dictate your life. So when you have a negative feeling next time, just understand and know that it's temporary. It's going to pass. So don't try to escape the pain. Just let it happen. You can try to use your brain to, make it not happen, make it shorter. As soon as you have a negative thought, get it out of there and have a positive thought. Don't turn to your vices. You're just going to dig a deeper hole. And it's just an endless cycle that's going to keep happening. So that's how your thoughts dictate your life. It's super interesting. You really got to kind of look at the brain like a computer, because that's all it is. It's just processing what's going on. It doesn't have emotions, it doesn't have thoughts. It's just a soldier following the orders of the general or the leadership or the CEO, the boss, which is your brain. So your thoughts dictate your life, whether you have a positive life or a negative life. It's just up to you to figure out how to deal with things without giving in vices and breaking out of this endless cycle. So that's how your thoughts dictate your life. I hope this was helpful. I think once you have a better understanding of how something works, you know how to fix it and use it to your advantage. And that's it for today's episode. I appreciate you watching or listening. I want to hear a comment below of how you're going to utilize this, or in your experience, how you deal with your negative thoughts and emotions instead of turning to vices, unless it's a good vice. I want to hear that. Whether you journal, ride your bike, call a friend, go out to eat with a friend, whatever it is, I want to know how you're dealing with your negative emotions and thoughts. So thanks for watching and listening. Share this with a friend or a foe, and make sure you subscribe. We do episodes once a week, and I'll see you next time on The Mental Warrior.